So this is an interesting machine right here. This is an electric vehicle, but it's not a battery electric vehicle. This is a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle. I've driven a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle before, but I've never spent a full week with one. So this has been interesting, enlightening, eye-opening. This is the 2021 Toyota Mirai. Let's talk about how it looks, because it's changed quite a bit from the last version. The older Mirai looked like a Prius, looked like an ugly Prius actually. It was not a good looking car by any means. The new version is significantly better. Like, it's not even close. Toyota, I think, realized like, oh, we got to do something about that Mirai. The first one was like, let's just get a Toyota, let's just get a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle out there, and we've got a Prius, so let's like hit that with a hammer a few times to fuck it up and make it look really ugly, and that'll get people interested in fuel cell vehicles. Well, that's not the case. Now they've taken this and made it look really good on the outside, or I should say much better. It's definitely interesting, and it is a more intriguing vehicle, pleasing to the eye. It is greatly improved. It's an understatement to say this is better looking than the old version. Now, on the inside, this is a nice space as well. I mean, dare I say it, it's almost Lexus-like in the cabin. That's how nice it is on the inside. Across the top of the instrument panel, across the top of the dash is really nice soft touch leather. These seats are comfortable. The steering wheel feels nice in your hand. This rides on the same platform as the Lexus LS, though it does not have Lexus LS-like room inside. I'm very comfortable in the front seat. It's a little bit tighter in the back seat, but you can get back there. It's closer in size on the inside, probably, I would guess, to like a Lexus GS. But that switch to the Lexus LS platform is a big deal too, because the prior Mirai was front-wheel drive, and now it is rear-wheel drive. That's a big change there too. So it looks better. Dynamically, it's likely to drive better. We'll get into that in a minute, but it's just such a nice change and upgrade and evolution of the car. They're committed to making this a better machine, and it's paying off. So how does it work? Well, you have 3 tanks holding hydrogen, 5.6 kilograms in total, and those tanks are used to create electricity to turn the motor, which sits at the back. This is technically a mid-engine supercar now. The motor sits, in the back. It's a direct drive to the rear axle, so there's no gearbox to speak of. It's not fast. We're dealing with just over 180 horsepower, a bit over 200 pound-feet of torque, and I think it's rated to go 0 to 60 in like 9 seconds, so not quick by any stretch of the imagination. However, that torque is pretty much always available, so it has that illusion of quickness that comes with almost any electric vehicle, really, which is an interesting thing. Some electric vehicles actually are quick. Every Tesla is super quick off the line, but all electric vehicles feel quicker than they actually are, which is a weird deception of instant electric torque and no, wailing engine noise that goes along with it. It's plenty fast on the freeway. I've driven this, I've been putting a good amount of miles on it so that I would have to be forced to find a station and fill it up. And there is one near me, a fueling station, and I always see, a line of 2 to 3 Mirais and Clarities there waiting to get fuel. So I knew where to go to fill this up. You can use the GPS to find a station near you, and it's not going to be a problem for those of you not in California, because you can't buy this if you don't live in California. And that makes sense because there are, I think, 50 fueling stations in Southern California. I think there's maybe a handful in the Northeast, probably less than that. So they're only selling this in California, and that is the only place to sell it. That makes sense right now, because you cannot fill it up outside of this state, essentially. And right now, hydrogen's not cheap either. The cost per kilogram at the station I filled up at was $16.43. So I took on, I think, 4.7 or so. I have my receipt somewhere. I took on less than 5 kilograms, and it was $80 to fill it up. Now, with the addition of the third tank on this generation Mirai, the range has increased. So I believe the last gen Mirai was rated to return 312, it was 312, I think 312 miles per the EPA of driving range. The base 2021 Mirai, the XLE, can do 402 miles. So that's a huge jump. And then there's the limited, like a fancier trim. This is an XLE, and there's a nicer trim above this, and that one's heavier because of wheels and just nicer stuff inside. And that one's rated at like 352. Now, I haven't been getting that high. I don't know why, if it's just my heavy right foot and it's kind of smoking this thing. There is a there's a drive mode button. So there's normal and let's see, there's sport, normal, and eco. I always put it right into sport. And I'm pretty sure it's just throttle response. In eco, it's dulled, and in sport, it's livelier. So off the line, you can do this. So whenever I fill this, when I filled it up, the range said 253, which is significantly less than even the lower end on the limited of 350. So I don't know. I mean, I'm confused to put it mildly. Let's see. There's a way to get. I'm trying to switch around so it shows me my fuel economy. Hold on. Let me switch this around. Okay. So I'm averaging right now. My total average is 45 mpge. Miles per gallon equivalent. And I think you should be up in the 70s with this thing, if I'm not mistaken. I got to double check the math on that one because I'm not great at math. But either way, I'm not hitting the number that I should be hitting in terms of range. And I don't know why that is. I'm falling very far short. So if you're only getting 250 miles on a tank out of one of these, that doesn't seem very economically feasible, but 400 seems pretty good. And hopefully the price of hydrogen comes down, because then you're only filling 5.6 at the most kilograms of a tank. Now, speaking of price, the base price on these is right around $50,000. I think they climb into the high 60s with the fancier trim. I'm sure there are incentives and rebates available for a hydrogen fuel cell vehicle because, they're not selling a lot of these and they need the rebates. Toyota has an incentive of its own where if you buy one of these, right off the bat, you get $15,000 worth of fuel credit. I mean, that's a pretty damn big incentive right there, $15,000. It'd be funny if, like HELLCAT owners got something similar, because that would last them it'd be gone in the blink of an eye. So forgetting the $15,000, let's go back to how it drives. I mentioned earlier that it's Lexus-like in the cabin. It's very quiet in here. It's the NVH is really well done. It's smooth, it's comfortable, it felt great on the highway. If you bought one of these, I believe you also get the HOV lane access. This one doesn't because it's a press vehicle registered in Texas. Texas plates to Toyota, so it doesn't get the California HOV sticker. But if you bought it here, you would get the sticker, you would get to use the lane, so there's another benefit as well. Now, obviously emissions, we're just dealing with a little bit of water out a hidden tailpipe, which you can purge it yourself. I don't know why hydrogen vehicles let you do that. The vehicle will do it itself, or if you want to purge it, you can do it. I got to look into more of why that is. I don't fully get it, but it's kind of a funny thing. You hit the button and it dumps water out the back. You make the car take a little water break the seal. These are intriguing machines. The infrastructure is clearly not here yet for these, but if it was, it'd be a neat option, because to fill it up, it takes as long, it's 5 minutes, just like, stopping for fuel instead of stopping to charge, where the best charging times you're going to get from 0 to 80 right now is probably about 20 minutes on the fastest chargers on the vehicles that can handle that right now. More likely 30 minutes for some of the fastest chargers if you need that. So this is more akin to just stopping for gas, which people can relate to for the time crunch there. You can't fill up at home though, because an electric vehicle, you're charging it at home more often than not. But you don't fill up a gas vehicle at home either. So it lives in this weird space. I think one thing that could help the infrastructure grow is if hydrogen is widely adopted in the commercial transportation, like maritime, big cargo ships. If those switch to hydrogen fuel cells, I think that would be interesting because hydrogen can scale better than battery electric based stuff, because you basically essentially just give it larger tanks to feed the stuff and store the fuel. Whereas battery electric scale up, it gets insanely heavy and insanely expensive far more quickly than hydrogen does. So there's that interesting side of it. And then if someone like Hyundai, who has these giant shipping vessels that are going across the ocean, say they went all in on hydrogen and something like that front, maybe the price of hydrogen would drop and there'd be more places to get it. But this is all speculation on my part. So I think that'd be the way that they could do it. And Hyundai is going heavy on hydrogen right now. They've got the Nexo. You've got Honda looking at it with the Clarity. And then you've got Toyota backing it up here with the Mirai. So there are some people playing in this space, and it is interesting. This is, zero emissions vehicle, water, it's water. So it's zero emissions. It's clean technology. It is interesting. It's obviously not there yet. I'm driving a vehicle and talking to you about a vehicle that you cannot even buy. You can buy it in one state, and if you live in the northern part of the state, you should, it doesn't make sense. So, but like I said, as it runs and drives, it's nice. It build wise, it's somewhere between Toyota and Lexus. It is definitely nice inside. It definitely looks way better. I never drove the old one because I didn't care to, but now that it's switched to rear-wheel drive platform and a better looking vehicle, my curiosity was piqued a bit, and I'm pleasantly surprised. This would be a nice daily driver if you could figure out the range situation, if you drove it with a softer foot and got closer to what the EPA says you should get into this. If you can do all that stuff, getting closer to 400 miles on a tank, it's interesting. You can tell that I'm kind of like babbling and perplexed, but I am intrigued. I am intrigued by this for sure. It's kind of cool that you're an electric vehicle that is generating its own electricity rather than just consuming electricity. There's that neat distinction between battery electrics and fuel cell vehicles. I find that interesting. But yeah, it's a good chassis. You would never confuse this with a sports sedan, but the switch to rear-wheel drive is certainly, an improvement on driving dynamics. The steering has nice heft to it. You're not really feeling anything from the road, but the weight is proper. The brakes are good to go. There's no gearbox to speak of. So I like this thing. I do like this thing. This would be a nice commuter machine. Especially with the HOV access here in Southern California. So this certainly has its pluses. It has some serious minuses though, due to infrastructure. If hydrogen demand grows, Toyota is ready to serve up a very good car to meet the supply to go with that demand. So I don't know. We're just not there yet. For now though, it's a nice car. Just no one out there to buy it. I see Mirais all the time because I happen to live near fuel cell stations, but I am aware that is not the norm. That is the exception, not the rule. But at the moment, whatever. It's a good car without a market.